Somebody call a doctor.
I want a bigger logo. You can't handle a bigger logo.
G'day, this is the Dr. Branding Podcast. I'm your branding Dr. Frank. The surgery is open. We are on air, and let's answer our next patient's question. Sorry if that was a bit loud through your speakers. Here we go. We are going to diagnose today's question, treat it with a prescription, and then we are going to be out of here. So today comes from Tim in Australia. Tim asks, my branding business has been going constant for a few years, and I've been doing most of the work myself, with some work put out to contractors in that time, but I want to grow this business. How do I do that? Tim in Australia, thank you for the question, my friend. All right, let's diagnose. What we've got here is business growing pains, yeah? The business of growing your business. And this applies to any business, obviously, but I'm going to be the first to admit that I'm not the expert in this area. I don't have a team of people to rely on and have a business where I only focus on business and acquiring new clients and not doing the work. I am hands-on. I am the unicorn of all things. Me, myself, and I, along with my wife, in this G'day Frank business. So it's not my area of expertise, but I will do my best to give an outline of how I think you could. But I'm going to give you a referral, Tim, to someone who is a specialist. I'm going to refer you on to a specialist in this field of business growth, especially in the branding creative space, to get you through this, to get you through these business growing pains. Because I think it's worth, obviously, doing it. You can run a very successful design business, branding business, and growth can come in a couple of forms. So depending on where you're at, Tim, and what you want to do, make up your mind here in where you fit. And for those of you listening or watching here and you're in a similar kind of situation, growth to me comes in two forms, okay? So the first one is when you are engaging with clients that can afford, a higher price, and you can increase your price as such. But if you're engaging with those that can't afford you, and you're not getting as much work as a result of increasing your pricing, then that can be a bit of a stagnant thing in terms of finding growth there. So you've got to be finding clients that are willing to pay that price. So it might have come from lots of experience of working your way up through smaller businesses, now starting to work with medium to large businesses, getting a bit of a reputation and having a constant workflow coming in, probably to the point where the second part of growth is you are growing your business to have a team do more of the work that you can't do on by yourself. You could, by all means, take on as much as you can and just kind of leave it at that, increase your price, especially if those can meet that need and meet that higher price point. And they can even happily wait for you to be free. If you have a backlog of clients, then that's fine. That's totally fine. It just means that if you've got a higher threshold of being able to charge more and you can do so, and you can still meet the capacity, then that's one form of growth, is just increasing your price. The other is if you can't meet demand and you've got demand and you need to have more people helping you, you grow that way. You bring on people, be it contractors or you bring on a team of employees. They're two forms of growth. So the signs that it's time to grow is that you've got too much work on your plate, okay? You've got not enough time in the day or week to do this stuff, and you're reaching a price ceiling potentially for the type of clients that you are getting. So if you say you're stuck at 15 to 20 grand for your branding services, maybe a little bit more, and those clients that are coming to you and taking up all your time to be able to do that, they're driving up your capacity to a point where you can't help enough, is where you would bring on some contractors maybe to start with, and then you go from there. But let me get into those little points in a sec. So that's the diagnosis, is business growing pains. The signs it's time to grow is too much work on your plate for you to be able to allow for taking on all these clients. There's just not enough hours in the day. or you're reaching a price ceiling where those people that are knocking on your door can't afford what you have to offer, so you need to outsource or bring others that can do it for you and meet the demand while having that pricing still sit at that ceiling. But it means you're bringing on more and more and more, and you can grow as a result in a more lateral way, if that's the way to describe it. Probably butchering this. Again, it's not my area of expertise, but let's try to do my best in terms of prescribing what you could do, and then I'm going to refer you on to this particular individual, Tim, and those of you listening can by all means engage with this person too. So in terms of, let's give you like a few steps of what you would do to best grow this. In my mind, this is what I've seen in business courses and talks and articles and podcasts. The tips I've got along the way, if I wanted to grow my business, I'm more than content with staying as I am. Maybe over time, it might get to a point where I want to outsource. But here we go. If you want to outsource, if you want to grow your business into more of a team, this is what I would be suggesting the path of where you get to with this. So number one, assess where you are now. Obviously, assess your current position to understand if you are in a position of growth and it's possible to execute on this and make it something that is manageable. Because you don't want to grow maybe too early potentially, or you grow too much, you bring on too many people and can't feed those mouths that you do bring on, especially if they're employees and you have commitments, those two people, to bring on enough work to manage the overhead that you have. Okay, so start small baby steps. It could be just some contractors, some lower paying contractors that can do the same work that you do or you have been doing for a smaller rate, and you can take the smaller percentage on top. And by the time you do 2 or 3 of those projects, you're making the same as what you would have by yourself on one, but you're not having to do anywhere near the amount of work, if at all. You're just having the client relationship part, and you can focus then on your business. So yeah, assess where you are. First step. Second one, systemizing your business. This is the one that I've found to be the kind of go-to starting point for any point of growth, to take yourself out of the day-to-day operation of doing the work, doing the branding work, in this case for Tim, is systemizing your business with what you call SOPs, standard operating procedures, for doing the specific roles that you do on a day-to-day at every stage of the process of a client engagement. Everything from the first onboarding call to maybe a workshop discovery call, a strategy workshop you might do over the phone, all the way down to copywriting, to the visual identity, creating a brand guide, exporting files for logo assets and other assets that are needed, and then what that delivery looks like, having that down into in writing, let's say, put it into a very standard operating procedure. This is what has worked for me. This is my process, so that I can give this to someone. They can read through it. They can understand the process that is my secret sauce to delivering a great outcome, and someone can follow that. You can bring someone on as an employee to read through that, understand it, take them through it in step by step, and really understand how it is you do what you do to produce a consistent result that meets your reputation, meets your previous experience that you've delivered for a client, especially if they do come back again and want to be treated to a very similar experience, if not better. So standard operating procedures. This removes you obviously from the business day to day, so that someone is taking on those roles for those individual tasks or complete process, whatever it might be, depending on the amount of people that are involved, obviously. Speaking of, third step, finding a team of contractors to begin with. They soon could be employees. They could turn into employees. You could have someone on your staff in your presence. They could be remote as well. But a contractor might limit your amount of liability in terms of, having to pay certain amounts of, either retirement fund like superannuation here in Australia, work cover, all those kinds of things. But that's not to say you can't employ somebody. There's more involved in employing people. more things that you need to do. It is there's more statutory obligations that you need to have in terms of taking care of those people in your team to make sure that they are doing the best job for all of you, but you're doing the best job for them to do what they need to do. And you have to become the boss. And that might not be for everybody. There's that to consider when finding a team, okay? And that's the biggest hesitation for me, is being a boss to somebody else. And I already have 2 little ones and my wife to support through my own business. And that to me is enough for now, until my kids are obviously older and a little bit more self-sustained. But that is the next echelon that we need to get to. That's step 3. As a result, if you do have the people working for you and doing those day-to-day jobs of actually doing the work, engaging with the client potentially as well, is to take on more of a role to promote the business, to make sure that the business is obviously maintained in the background, but taking on this role that is nearly like the sales manager, the one that spruiks the business, that is, the face of the brand that you have, and really selling the opportunity of being able to work with you and your team, obviously, as well. But you're taking on that role to be the face of the business rather than the person that's in there, in the trenches, doing the work. Obviously, you can be in certain places throughout the process so that your presence is felt throughout, and that client might have bought into you, and you can be part of the process to make sure that they feel, they've got you as the person that they want to work with. But yeah, you'll feel yourself stepping back, I believe. And it's basically the opinion that I get from an experience I've seen and heard and spoken with those that have grown their business, is you take that step back operationally to be more of that salesperson and that business manager effectively. So that's 4 steps. 4 steps. 5th one is to grow that business more, is to be able to, this is the same kind of advice for any business brand, to grow that brand, is to potentially offer more services, products, to basically increase your amount of engagement with different clients at different stages. You might work with a client initially on branding and then help them with their website, and then maybe advertising, social media. You bring on more people that can do those things and be more of a full-serviced agency in that respect, to be that end-to-end service provider in this space to help people grow their brand. Otherwise, be more available in terms of your capacity to offer more services to more people in more spaces. So it might mean more people are in your team to be able to handle that capacity, and then show up in as many places as possible. You might not just work with a certain niche potentially. You might broaden your niche, or not have a niche at all, and kind of mass market your services to all types of businesses in all types of countries. If you can have that capacity to do so, potentially based on your services and products. If you have a team that might be international and they can go to the places or are based in the places that your clients are, especially if they need to be hands-on for something like videography or photography, or doing in-person workshops, and you can go to these people, that can be another plus. Again, higher rates as a result of expanding your products and services, to be able to facilitate these things. But again, that's another thing we can do to grow our presence. I'm just going to pause for a second. Press the cough button. And then we want to increase our pricing as well. To better establish a more profitable business, we sometimes do need to increase our pricing structure, or facilitate our products and services in a better way that we can produce a greater profit, to be able to grow the business more, to be able to bring on a greater amount of people, or even more experienced people that obviously are going to need a higher salary to compensate for their services and their experience level. And better facilities if you have an office space as well to accommodate all these people too. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I've got a bit of a cough in my throat. Okay, so that's the first 5. I think once you get to those points and those things are working, or maybe even the same stage as well, is you're looking to manage a business operations with a team to help you do those side of things as well. With that, you need to manage things on the day-to-day. You're getting experts that are in other facets of business operations, be it your accountancy, so having a finance team effectively, office managers, if you have that office space, human resources, so a HR team to manage everybody's day-to-day in terms of making sure everyone's happy in the team. We're leading by example. We're having our values and team camaraderie working together. So that personality, that brand personality is thriving. There's a team culture working. And then obviously you might have a sales team to be doing client outreach, to be bringing in more work, to making sure that the business is running smoothly with enough clients coming through to be able to facilitate this business to sustain itself and keep growing, obviously, as well. And that should perpetuate and hopefully grow over time with some bit of compounding effects, with more reach, more work under your belt, more networking that is coming as a result, more work is coming in, and you're working with even better and better clients. And by better, I mean maybe bigger clients that can afford a larger fee, maybe even retainer fees, that you do have consistent business coming in, things like that, where you can manage these relationships and grow the business with your clients' businesses at the same time. But throughout this, there might come a time, if not at the start, if not halfway through this, where things get overwhelming and you need someone in your corner to really guide you through these decision-making processes, through this journey of increasing maybe the amount of risk in your day-to-day, the amount of things you do need to consider, and how to manage that in a way that keeps you sane and doesn't mean that you have every finger in all of the pies. To be able to understand where you are best placed within a business that is growing is to have some form of maybe mentorship. Working with a business mentor, some call themselves coaches, finding the right one for you, again, can be a challenge. Someone that does understand business, understands finance, understands operations, but also understands your industry as well, being in the branding space or in the creative space of how to run that kind of creative agency. I have one person I want to refer you to as a result. All those 7 steps there, including the business mentorship, might be something that this person covers. I know one of them in particular, the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, definitely is. But that person is, his name is Michael Jander, or Mike Jander. You might know him already. He ran an agency of his own for many, many years, something like 30 years. Worked with the biggest of the biggest agencies and TV production, movie production companies around the world. He is based in America. He's a lovely, lovely man. He creates a lot of great content on social media, YouTube, and also podcasts. You might have seen his podcast, 2 Pixels Off, most recently, or previously BizBuds. But he also has courses on running a business effectively, and he also does business mentorship, one-on-one mentorship from his experience and helping you get through these business growing pains and making sure that you are taking the right steps that give you some assurance that you're doing the right thing, be it psychologically, financially, to get to the point of growth and seeing your business grow and all the things that do come with it. And look, I can only refer you on. I do vouch for Michael because he's a lovely man. We have spoken many times over these years. I am waiting to meet him in person, but given our positions in this globe, we're a little bit far apart, obviously. But one day, if he does come to Australia especially, I'll definitely be meeting him. But please reach out to Michael if you are in this situation like Tim is. Tim, please do. And then from there, I wish you all the best in terms of growing a branding business. We need more businesses like branding businesses to grow, to show the value in this industry of what branding can really do. And the broader, the bigger your business, I guess, in terms of how you can deliver better branding to businesses, that's what I'm here for. Fantastic. But if your brand, your business is growing in a different way where you're at a stage of just getting to a point of increasing your pricing or maybe offering some more services, again, that is growth. That is the kind of growth that I look towards in terms of increased price, a broader service offering, and working with maybe fewer clients but for a higher fee. And getting involved in businesses in terms of brand management, as well as doing the design work and the messaging and things like that, to make sure that these businesses are growing and sticking with them to see the fruits of that labor and feeling like part of their team effectively to champion their brand to be doing better branding. But with that, look, I hope that helps in some way, shape or form, Tim. I hope I did my best there in terms of justifying how you could get through business growing pains. And look, for those of you listening, I hope that helped you too, in whatever shape, way or form you're in. But please take a piece of brand candy. It's my free resource guide to do better branding that you can get on your way out at g'dayfrank.com/candy. You can also make an appointment via that link if you have a brand related ailment that you'd like some help with. And I will see you at the next appointment in my next episode. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. The surgery is now closed. The Dr. Branding Podcast is hosted by Reagan Frank McCrill, that's me, and for legal reasons I want to be clear that I am not a registered or qualified doctor. The premise for this podcast is that it is a satirical analogy for branding consultancy to help others with their brand success. This podcast is also sponsored by my branding business, G'day Frank. Say g'day today by booking a call with me at g'dayfrank.com.